Well, the Chevy's back from the transmission joint, but I'm not entirely happy. Well, I'm happy with the gearbox, but not the temperature that this thing's running at. So I'm going to rip this radiator out, and I'm going to change the fan in the front here. So I spoke to the bloke that built the radiator here and told him about my concerns of how the engine's running quite warm, and at one stage it actually got very hot. He suggested it's not the radiator and to go around and check some other things. And one of the things he did say was to make sure it doesn't have a blown head gasket. So I got myself this and ran the test. I made sure I pulled out the thermostat out of the thermostat housing there so I wasn't getting any false readings. Ran it up to temperature, and as you can see here, the blue liquid stayed blue. It didn't go green or yellow, so that confirms, well, hopefully confirms that there is no blown head gasket. Well, I've got the 34 back. The transmission works, well, that's good, but I'm not happy with the way it's running. It's running a little bit too hot, so I'm going to take the radiator out and I'm going to change up this fan on the front to a brand name. I'm going with a Spol. Something that I know is going to work a little bit better than the generic one that I've got on the truck already. This thing's supposed to suck, or blow in our case, about 2000 CFM. So we'll put this on and we'll see if it makes it run any cooler. Well, there's that radiator out. There's a little bit of mucking around, but I got it out. Now I can fix up the oil cooler as well, which is kind of dangling down there at the moment. Where is it? Where are you hiding? There it is. All right, I'll get on to all of this. This is going to be fun. Well, that was pretty easy. I mean, let's face it, it's only just a couple of bolts here, all the way around. A little bit of jiggling to get it right, but yeah, works fine. Now we can say we've got a Spol in it. So I did test it and I made sure everything is wired correctly and it is pushing, and it does seem to have a lot more kick than this thing. Hopefully this is the problem and I'm not pulling this radiator out again. But before I actually put that back in, well, I have to change this oil cooler here. And I've got something tricky for that as well. Oh, I've got myself a derail. There we are. I've got myself one of these. So this derail's got its own Thermo Fan on it with a little switch here to make it work. But I've got to figure out how I'm going to actually bolt it on, because these brackets that it comes with are kind of in the wrong spot to what I need. Anyway, a little bit of figuring out, and I'll get to that. But before I can even figure out how I'm going to bracket that, I have to change some of these hoses here. I'm not going to run it through the radiator, so that one there isn't going to work. Yeah, I'm going to have to try and plumb that around over into the front there. What I probably need to do is go and find myself some transmission line. I'll see what I've got here, and if I don't, I guess I'm going to the auto store. Well, there you have it. Radiator's back in, and I've even got that transmission cooler in. That's all plumbed up, all wired up. It's got a little Thermo Fan on the front of that as well. I have topped up the transmission. I've even burped the radiator. I did that last night. Time now to just take it for a drive and see if it runs any cooler. Well, it's a beautiful day out, and I've driven about 3 miles, 4 miles, and the temperature seems to be pretty steady just sitting there. So hopefully what I've done here has actually fixed the issue. I'll go for a little bit more of a drive, and what I'm also going to do is just check under the hood there that it is actually correct, this gauge. So I'll get onto that. That seems to be alright. And the block itself, 170, Yeah, that's pretty good. Down here, 44. Well, I'm going to take it for a bit more of a drive now, like I said, and see if it doesn't heat up as I blast it down the freeway. Well, I've gone for more of a drive, and I'm down at the beach at the moment, which is actually not looking very good today. But anyway, yeah, this thing's still running a little warm. I mean, you know, you could probably just keep driving it the way it is, but I'm just not happy with it. So I think I'm going to go back home and put it up on the hoist again and remove that radiator again. And I'm going to try an alloy one. The one I originally had that I didn't want to use. Just so I know it's not the copper radiator, I'll just whack in this alloy one and see what happens. I mean, I've made it quite easy to do now. I've only got 4 bolts holding it in now, and it's only a couple of radiator hoses, so it shouldn't be too hard now. So I've gone for another drive, and I drove for a good half an hour, and it didn't go over about 200, maybe 205. I'm not convinced there actually is a problem. Maybe that's how it is. But to resolve my curiosity, I'm gonna throw this alloy one in. So it's out with this one again, and I'll make some brackets to go on this side for the fan. Okay, so I've thrown in that alloy radiator there, and well, it didn't take too long at all. Well, aside from just tapping out a few screw holes here, and also at the front there, you might be able to see, there you go. I just had to drill and put some little screws in there. But otherwise, I'm gonna burp this now and take it for a drive. Well, here I am, stopped at my usual spot, which is, you know, 4 mile, 5 mile down the road. And as you can see here, man, she's staying cooler with the alloy radiator. But like I said, I've only driven, you know, 4 or 5 miles. So I think I'm gonna keep going and take it for a drive for about 30 minutes and see if this makes any difference. Geez, I'll be happy if this is it. But then again, I've got another little story to tell if this is it when I get back. Well, I've driven for at least half an hour now, and I've done some freeway driving, and I've also done some just stuff around, you know, houses and that. And right now I'm near Illawarra Lake. That's a pretty sight. Well, this thing hasn't gone over that at all, both in traffic and down the freeway. Hopefully, guys, I've fixed this running, well, not hot, but running warm, as it was sitting on 200 before, and I just didn't like that. Well, I'm a lot more happy with the temperature it's running at now. I'll do a little bit more driving and see if it makes it all the way home. Well, there you have it. It didn't move past about 175 on the whole trip. I've been driving now for maybe an hour. I've gone all around my area. I've driven through the suburbs, driven down the freeway a few times, and I'm around the corner at the beach again. It seems to be my favourite spot, even when I'm not surfing. Well, I'm going to turn this off. And you know, it seems that quite possibly this is the problem of my running hot scenario. But is it? Well, this morning before driving it, I had to burp it. That makes sure there's no air in the system. But here's the thing. This time when I burped it, a lot of bubbles came through. So many bubbles, in fact, I actually thought maybe it did have a blown head gasket, because it was just bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. Not to the point of foaming or anything like that, but just constantly bubbling, like every so often, periodically. Now, when I'd burped it before, I'd never actually seen any of that. It just would rise, and then as the thermostat would open, all the water would drop. then you'd fill it up as you do. But this time, all it did was rise, and bubbles were just coming through. So my guess is one of two things. Either this radiator just happened to keep a lot of air in it, or I was never really getting all the air out with the copper radiator. Now at this moment in time, I ain't pulling that radiator out. For the moment, it can stay in there because all is well. So I'm going to do some more driving over the Christmas break here, and guys, I'm going to wrap this video up right here. Thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one. See yas!